So for those of you who are more visual than auditory or able to read and memorize, here's a picture from your textbook of osmosis. So it's showing you the lower concentration and the higher concentration, and then in the middle is your permeable membrane, and you can see your molecules and how they are moving. This is a picture of your isotonic solution. And as you can see, remember we talked about isotonic solution. There's no change in the cell volume. There's no net gain or loss of water. It doesn't shrink and it doesn't swell. So as you see, water's coming in and water's going out, and there is no difference in the cell. It looks exactly the same. But then when we're looking at a hypertonic solution, remember we talked about hypertonic solution, and it is actually where you are seeing that loss of water and that shrink in the cell. So we have that water going out, and then when it's given a hypertonic, we're giving that water's drawing it out and we're causing it to shrink. And then when we talk about hypotonic, those cells are absorbing the water, so the water's going in and they're absorbing them, and then they get too full and they can burst. They will swell and rupture, and that causes the hemolysis, which you're seeing on the right. This is just a picture of your diffusion. Same thing, we're going higher concentration to a lower concentration. You're just seeing it in a more visual form, and then there's your semi-permeable membrane in the middle. Okay, so now what you're looking at is a picture from your textbook, and it's looking at the fluid balance between the intravascular and interstitial space that's maintained in that capillary bed. Remember, this is important for homeostasis, so we need to have this balance occur for homeostasis purposes. Then when we have a disruption in the fluid and electrolytes, that's when we lost the balance, we don't have it. So what you're looking at on the left side, you're looking at the arterial side of a capillary bed. So you see the heart is pumping out the different fluid that we need. You know, your proteins are included in here, your plasma. So the fluid that we need, the heart is pumping it out. Then when it circulates through your venous side, which is on the right, this is where you have that osmotic pressure, and you're having that colloid osmotic pressure simulate. So we're bringing back in to those capillary beds what we need. This is occurring to maintain a nice even balance. So this is a picture from your textbook of the sodium-potassium pump. Remember, we talked about the sodium-potassium ions move across the cell membranes against their concentration gradients. This is that active transport process that's fueled by ATP. You have to have that energy. Remember that we said that your potassium is intercellular fluid and your sodium is considered extracellular fluid. So you have that opposite attraction keeping balance. So when we talk about body fluid regulation, we talk about thirst, the kidneys, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, antidiuretic hormone, and atrial nutrient peptide. So when we think about thirst regulates extracellular fluid sodium level. Increase in sodium increases serum osmolality, stimulating that thirst, which we need for water balance and homeostasis in our body. Then when we talk about our kidneys, the kidneys, you know, are important for regulating the fluid volume and the electrolyte balance in the body. Plasma is filtered through the glomeruli every day. You maintain volume and osmolality of body fluids through the kidneys. Then when we talk about that renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, this is where we are maintaining intravascular fluid and blood pressure. Renin converts angiotensin, which is a plasma protein, into the circulating blood, and that becomes angiotensin 1. You probably talked about some of the angiotensin 1 and 2 with Miss Pippin in pharmacology. That is also when you get to your angiotensin 1. This travels through the lungs and is converted into angiotensin 2. This is also converting the enzyme into an ACE. You know, we talk about medications called ACE inhibitors. Then angiotensin 2 is a vasoconstrictor. It does increase the blood pressure. It causes kidneys to retain sodium and water. Angiotensin 2 stimulates the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. And remember, aldosterone promotes sodium and water retention in that distal nephron of the kidney, helping to restore blood volume. So I'm going to let you all review in your chapter the antidiuretic hormone and the atrial natriuretic peptide in your textbook. So the next slide's 19 through 32, where we start with the sodium imbalances. We are going to talk about those in lab, and that's going to be part of one of your activities in lab. So just make sure that you do review some of those in your chapter. You want to review the causes and side effects. How would you identify hyponatremia versus hypernatremia, and what is actually going on, what could cause it. So this concludes Chapter 10 recording, and I will see you next week.